No one can stop me when I taste the feeling. Nothing could ever bring me down. Nothing could ever bring me down. Taste the feeling.
For Total Home Pest Control, who are you going to call?
Call the Bug Man, 923-BUGS.
For Total Pest Control for your home or business, call the original Salvat.
Call the Bug Man today, 923-BUGS.
Exiles from what, you ask? Exiled from the radio, but now we're on your television.
I'm Bill Profita, he's Kevin Gallagher, and they kicked us to the curb.
But we're back.
We are back with Exiles Television on the Pelican Broadcasting Network. We're going to bring you the newsmakers. We're also going to take your calls and give you great information. It's going to be the best damn radio show on television.
Look for it on your cable system or download the app, PelicanSportsTV.com.
Eric Garrard is back, but where has he been?
I read on the internet that guy was abducted by aliens.
Rated P.
Hello guys, it's Debbie. It's time. I've got a brand new location. 10510 Airline Highway, Baton Rouge, next to After 5 Tuxedos. We have the perfect spot to get all your wedding and formal wear needs. Come see our one-of-a-kind name brand and get great prices. With 30 years experience, the best customer service anywhere. It's Debbie's Bridal, Airline Highway, Baton Rouge. See you soon.
Hello and welcome to hour one of our Monday edition of the Clarence Bug Show. Here's hoping that your weekend was an absolutely fabulous one. If not, well, like we say every Monday, right about this time of the day, good Lord willing, you will still be here when the next one rolls our way, and you'll have the opportunity to try it all over again. We start today's show talking about something that Louisianians, particularly here in the southern part of our state, really need to be cognizant of this time of year. And no, believe it or not, it's not coronavirus. For many Louisianians living along the Mississippi River, you've experienced flooding as of late. And as a result, you may be seeing things that normally you only see on television, in a zoo, the Aquarium of the Americas, so on and so forth, talking about alligators and the problems that they are presenting now for many South Louisianians. Jeb Linscombe is the Biologist Program Director with the Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries and joins us to start today's show. Jeb, good morning, and how are you, sir?
Good morning. I'm doing well this morning.
So, gator complaints, are they unusual this time of year, Jeb?
Absolutely not. In fact, this is the time of year when complaints really crank up. Obviously, you have very few complaints in the winter to no complaints. So alligators are cold-blooded, which means in the winter they slow down their body metabolism, basically stop eating and stop moving. They basically get into a hole and they become senescent, which is similar to what a bear does in hibernation. And then in the early spring, in March, when the water temperatures warm up and the air temperatures warm up, then they'll start moving and looking for food. And coupled with that, if you live in an area close to, for example, the Atchafalaya Basin, you also have rising water. This is the time of the year that the Atchafalaya Basin rises up, and other rivers as well when you start getting snow melt from northern latitudes. And that water will additionally displace some animals. So to sum it up, no, it's very common to have nuisance complaints this time of the year.
I'm glad you mentioned nuisance complaints. how do we determine what is a nuisance gator?
Well, actually, the Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries has people that are waiting to take calls at all times. And you can call any of our regional offices. You can call our Lafayette or Baton Rouge office or any of the other district offices. And on the weekend and at nighttime, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you can call 1-800-GAME-THIEF. And you give the information and describe it to personnel at LDWF, and they'll really determine if you have what is considered a legitimate nuisance complaint, and they will dispatch a nuisance hunter accordingly. But as a general statement, I would say that anything over 6 foot in length almost positively constitutes a nuisance issue, except if it's in an area that it's supposed to be in. For example, if you're on the bank of the Atchafalaya River and you have an alligator close to your property, but it's in the river, that's just something you might have to deal with. And now the difference is if that animal is coming out of the river and is aggressively moving towards your property, then it becomes a valid nuisance issue.
Obviously now more and more people are getting out because of the warmer temperatures, more and more people getting back to nature now because of stay-home orders and things of that nature. What are some of the do's and don'ts if we lay people were to encounter a gator in the wild?
Well, the most important, there's two things you want to do. One is you want to keep a safe distance. You want to not harass the animal in any way. And if you have children or pets, of course, you would want to make sure that you keep them away from the animal.
Right.
And the second thing you want to do, and this is really important, is never feed alligators. So what happens is an alligator, for the most part, is not aggressive towards humans. They're actually more afraid of humans than you would think. The one exception is when people feed alligators, the animals become habituated to human presence, and then they're no longer scared of humans. In fact, not only are they not scared of humans, when they see a person, they associate that person with food.
Right.
And there's inadvertent feeding too. So a lot of people have camps on waterways, and oftentimes they'll go fishing, and when they'll clean fish on the porch, they'll take the scraps and throw them in the canal or the water bottom, and not think much of it. But if an alligator comes along and sees you throw those scraps and they eat them, to that alligator, essentially you're feeding it.
Right.
And that's a very bad thing.
So typically, what does the diet consist of for alligators? Is there anything they won't eat?
Other than plants, no. They're pretty non-selective. I mean, alligators will eat pretty much anything they can get their hands on, and quite honestly, they're going to eat whatever's the easiest thing for them to get their hands on. So mammals, fish, amphibians, everything, birds, everything you can think of, they'll eat it.
So is there such a thing as the typical protocol when Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries receives a call, panic, I've got a gator on my property, we've never seen gators before? Typically, how are they dealt with, Jeb?
Okay, so if we have one that's really an issue, like it's on in somebody's garage, for example, we would call the nuisance hunter ourselves, and we would make sure that they can get out there, in a matter of minutes. Oftentimes, sheriff's deputies will assist, and they'll kind of make sure that the animal is secured while you're waiting on the nuisance hunter to get there. But the most important thing is for the landowner to understand that, no matter how long it takes for them to get there, what they need to do is make sure that they stay away from the animal. So, and not only stay away from the animal, make sure kids and pets are away from the animal. So if you have an alligator in your yard, we would issue the nuisance complaint. We would get the nuisance hunter out there as soon as possible. But the most important thing is the landowner doesn't try to deal with the situation themselves. Rather prevent injury by securing pets, securing themselves, in the house, as well as children, and so that we can dispatch a nuisance hunter and get them out there to handle the situation, with someone that's trained to handle it.
So typically during the course of any given year, how many complaints does LDWF deal with as far as nuisance gators are concerned?
We deal with about 1,200 to 1,500 complaints a year statewide. Of course, the vast majority of those complaints are skewed towards the coastal zone. We do have alligators throughout the state of Louisiana, but the vast majority of the population is the coastal zone. And we're fortunate in that the vast majority of our coastal zone is really away from any urban environment. But, however, there are some urban areas in the lower coastal parishes and also around the Atchafalaya Basin that are close. But it's about 1,200 to 1,500 complaints. And really, there's a misconception that the number of complaints are going up, and they're higher and higher every year. But the reality is the number of complaints we're dealing with really has been stable for well over a decade. And it's hovering around that 1,200 to 1,500 mark.
Is there a particular time of day, evening, morning, what have you, when gators are most active and we need to especially be aware of our surroundings, Jeb?
You should be aware at all times. However, I would say that it's unsafe to swim in any water body that you know of that has alligators. But if you were swimming around dusk or around dawn, you would even be putting yourself at a higher risk than you would in the middle of the day. Because alligators, although they'll feed all day long, they tend to feed more at dusk and dawn.
Typically, we Louisianians like to consider ourselves outdoorsmen, kind of well-versed in the rules of being in the out of doors. Even if a gator appears to be sedate, the fact of the matter is these are still wild animals, correct? Correct.
And the thing to do is to leave them alone. I mean, it's important to remember, not only is it dangerous to come in contact with an alligator, it's also illegal. So, it's illegal to really, outside of the hunting season, it's illegal to put your hands on any wild animal, and it's dangerous. So the best thing to do is to view the animal at a safe distance and not harass it.
And again, how do we get in touch with you guys if, in fact, we need the services to remove a nuisance gator from our property?
Okay. You can call any of our district offices. The two offices that handle the most complaints are Lafayette and Baton Rouge. You can call 1-800-GAME-THIEF 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you go to LAGatorprogram.com, it will bring you to the alligator portion of LDWF's website, or you can just go to LDWF's website and navigate to the alligator portion. But LAGatorprogram.com brings you directly to it, and it's got everything you need to know about all of the facets of the alligator program, not just nuisance hunting, but there's a nuisance page there. And it describes what you should do. It talks about, it has do's and don'ts, which you should or should not do around alligators. And it has phone numbers on there that you can use to contact us to get a nuisance complaint number assigned to you.
Fantastic. Jeb Linscombe, Biologist Program Director for the Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries. Thanks for some valuable information, and stay safe, sir.
Thank you.
All right. first break of Hour 1. Time to get that done, and we continue on with Hour 1 of the Clarence Bug Show right where you've got it, here on the Pelican. Stay close.
I owed the IRS $10,000.
The IRS garnished my wages.
They put a lien on my house.
I'm self-employed and didn't report all my income. They claim I owe a lot more than I do.
The IRS is the most powerful collection agency in the world. They do not give up until you pay.
I couldn't sleep. We were being audited. I called Tax Solutions Now, and a great big weight was lifted off my shoulders.
I called Tax Solutions Now, and they got the IRS off my back.
Tax Solutions Now had my wage garnishment lifted in 48 hours.
Tax Solutions Now can get you help. Our agents know the rules, can stop the pain, and get you the best deal.
Tax Solutions Now saved my business.
I qualified for the Fresh Start program. I paid less than I owed.
We connect you with a team of former IRS agents and tax professionals who get the IRS off your back. Time is running out. Call Tax Solutions now.
Call 800-778-4345. 800-778-4345.
From appetizers, pasta dishes, and entrees, La Contea takes pride in preparing all the Italian cuisine we know you love. Enjoy live music every Thursday through Saturday from 6 to 9, happy hour weekdays from 3 to 6, and brunch on Sundays from 11 to 2, as well as dinner portion-sized lunch specials for under $10. Visit our website to view our menu and book a party or meeting in our large banquet room. Once you try La Contea, your Italian dining will change forever.
Hi, I'm Bobby Yarborough with Manda Fine Meats. Here at Manda, we know what the folks of South Louisiana love. They love great flavored smoked sausage, delicious deli meats, and specialty items like boudin and andouille sausage. Manda Fine Meats has been providing these products since 1947. We produce them right here in Baton Rouge, so you know you're always getting the freshest product at your local grocery store. Manda Fine Meats. Taste the fresh local flavor in everything we make. Make it Manda every time.
Bolello's Furniture and Appliances, your dependable independent. Depend on us for service, for selection, for price. Get huge Whirlpool savings. Shop now and save on Whirlpool appliances throughout the store. Plus, experience our price match guarantee and ask about special financing. You can depend on the know-how of people who live appliances every day. Bolello's Furniture and Appliances, your dependable independent with nationwide buying power.
Welcome back to Hour 1 of our Monday edition of the Clarence Bug Show. I would like to think that there's not a single Louisianian viewing today that is forgotten. If so, you probably have been just totally and completely out of the loop. But today is the official start of hurricane season. And unfortunately, we have already had 3 tropical disturbances, one, ironically, from a Pacific storm that could well have some ramifications for us here in Louisiana in the next 5 to 7 days or so. I mention all this to say that, first and foremost, you got to have a game plan these days, guys and girls. More so than ever, it is incumbent that you make not just necessary plans, but extended plans. As a matter of fact, the good folks in St. Tammany Parish are already urging residents not to depend on public shelters if, in fact, we find ourselves staring down the barrel of another hurricane gun. It is a part of living where we live in the United States of America. Yeah, we love the great outdoors here. We love the food, the music, the people, but part and parcel of what we are blessed with here in Louisiana is that every single year, starting now and running through November, we run the risk of a hurricane. This year, it is a completely different picture altogether, obviously because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Officials in St. Tammany are already warning that you need to make plans outside of relying on a public shelter, because obviously with the social distancing protocols and all that comes along with the COVID-19 pandemic, being able to shelter people in mass is something that is going to have to change, and change radically. Parish President Mike Cooper in St. Tammany says that the parish is making changes to its hurricane preparedness in the wake of COVID-19, and that now falls squarely on our shoulders. In addition to putting your normal hurricane preparedness kit together with batteries, non-perishable food, preferably a hand crank radio, flashlight, things of that nature, you also now additionally need to plan on packing things like hand sanitizers, face masks, things of that sort to go along with your hurricane kit. Additionally, your evacuation plans now need to include things outside of a public shelter, because again, in the event that we find ourselves in the crosshairs of a hurricane, shelter space is going to be limited this year. Understanding the financial impact that COVID-19 has heaped upon so many parishes, it would be easy in conventional thinking to say, well, if shelters can only operate at half capacity, then we need to open twice as many. That's easy for us to say, but each additional shelter costs each parish additional funding. A lot of funding many of those parishes simply do not have. It's been the experience of parish officials in recent memory that they've been able to partner with hotels and getting space for individuals, but there is no certainty in that regard. Those of you that don't have family members or friends out of harm's way, obviously you're going to be looking toward hotels, but there's no guarantee there. So when all is said and done, now is the time to start making contacts with friends, loved ones that live further inland than the folks in South Louisiana. It is something that, you know, it's uncomfortable to think about. It's not pleasant to think about, but the fact of the matter is we live where we live. And there is the possibility that sometime over the next 6 months, we may find ourselves staring down the barrel of yet another hurricane. And quite frankly, it is a reality for us more so along the Gulf Coast than any other part of the country. So govern yourselves accordingly, because the 2020 hurricane season is expected to be an active one. So word to the wise should be sufficient. This is not something that you put off until the last minute, because if COVID-19 has taught us anything, we are unprepared in so many ways. And when the time comes for us to react, you don't want to be one of those that's left out in the cold. Hand sanitizers, face masks, things of that nature, at least for the foreseeable future, has become a part of everyone's hurricane list. And quite frankly, you don't want to wait until the last minute to get these things together, because if COVID-19 has taught us anything, it's that these are items that have now become essential for everyday living. And, you know, again, hate to be the bearer of bad news, but there's one right now that could well develop into a problem for Louisiana down in the Bay of Campeche. And, you know, it's always better to be ahead of the curve than it is to be behind it. Govern yourselves accordingly. You know, this is not our first rodeo here in South Louisiana. It's something that we really should have down to a science by now. But again, with the advent of COVID-19, there's yet another twist in all of this that we need to be prepared for. Red Cross, other service organizations, Cajun Navy, they all start to gear up this time of year. but it's also the time when you and I need to gear up as well. Won't be able to rely on government to provide that source for us this time around. So even if it means you need to start squirreling away additional dollars now, just like you put together that emergency kit, start to put together, if at all possible, some emergency funds, because at the end of the day, no one can nor should anyone take care of you like you should take care of yourself. I know you got a lot on your plate. I understand that. I understand full well that for many people viewing right now, finances are at a premium. It's better to take that into consideration and plan accordingly. That way, if in fact it should arise. And you know, quite frankly, the odds are more likely than not that we will see something affect our area in the near future. It's just a part of where we live. So the last thing we want is, in the interest of protecting the public from a hurricane, we put people in a crowded situation like a public shelter, and we find out that there's this one or two persons that in fact had contracted COVID-19. They now go to a packed shelter, and we find ourselves fighting this insipid virus all over again. Don't put yourself in that situation. Don't put others in that situation. So planning and preparation, key. Again, this is not our first rodeo, y'all. It only means that we need to take into account a couple of other variables in getting ready for hurricane season. It starts today. That is the reality of the matter. And it will not go away anytime soon, at least until November. I know, Clarence, I don't know why you want to tell me this stuff when we're still dealing with COVID-19. Well, it's the reality. And the sooner we step up and deal with reality in a realistic fashion, the better off all of us are going to be. When the rubber meets the road, it's incumbent on you to take care of yourself. Bottom line, government resources are stretched thin right now. Many parishes at a breaking point. So be realistic in assessing these things and understanding that now more than ever, it falls upon you and I to protect ourselves. Government will do what it can, but it is not, nor should it be, a means, the all-encompassing means that we use to take care of ourselves. Shouldn't be that way. And this year, more than ever, there is the distinct possibility that government will not be able to meet our needs. So that being said, when you make those plans, it's more important now than ever that you be able to get yourself out of harm's way. And when you evacuate, you put together that kit every year, so by now you probably have that down to a science. But additionally, you're going to have to include COVID-19 preparations in that as well. I know it's a hassle and a half. I truly understand. I'm right there with you. But when all is said and done, make those preparations, because the last thing you want is to find yourself in a shelter situation and you're worried not only about what's happening at home, what the storm is going to do, what kind of damage is going to occur, but you also now have to worry, am I safe from COVID-19 in a shelter situation? The ounce of prevention is worth more than the pound of cure. And now is the time to get ready for it. So the next time you're out doing the shopping for the week, go ahead and secure and put aside in that hurricane kit, hand sanitizer, face masks, things of that nature, and that'll be one less thing that you have to worry about if in fact we find ourselves staring down the barrel of yet another hurricane here in South Louisiana. We need to get our bottom of the hour break out of the way. We'll do that, and we will talk more with you as we continue the Monday edition of the Clarence Bugg Show, right where you've got it, here on the Pelican. Stay close.
Hi, I am Dr. Farrell Frugier Jr., and I am a general dentist at Frugier Family Dentistry. I was born and raised in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I went to Catholic High School, LSU, and LSU School of Dentistry in New Orleans, where I received my DDS degree in 1986. I always have and will continue to be committed to continuing my education, to invest in technology which makes the diagnosis and delivery of dentistry more thorough, more comfortable, and more aesthetically pleasing. In our practice, we are here to serve the patients. We want to improve their quality of life and to develop relationships with our patients. In dentistry, we have a chance to impact lives on a daily basis, not just by doing dentistry, but by getting to know them and being a part of their life. We also believe in giving back to our community. So every year, we give back to the Greater Baton Rouge Food Bank, Toys for Tots, and Mary Bird Perkins Cancer Center. Please stop by and visit our office. We would love to take care of you and your family.
Hello guys, it's Debbie. It's time. I've got a brand new location. 10510 Airline Highway, Baton Rouge, next to After 5 Tuxedos. We have the perfect spot to get all your wedding and formal wear needs. Come see our one-of-a-kind name brand and get great prices. With 30 years experience, the best customer service anywhere. It's Debbie's Bridal, Airline Highway, Baton Rouge. See you soon.
For total home pest control, who are you going to call?
Call the Bug Man, 923-BUGS.
For total pest control for your home or business, call the original Salvat.
Call the Bug Man today, 923-BUGS.
They said I could find you here. Why are you fishing? Our company's got to ship out 2 full color brochures and 20 color copies. You're killing me.
It's done. Designed, printed, packaged, and shipped.
How?
You just got to know the right people. Baker Printing, the printing people.
How come you get to fish in this private lake?
Like I said, you just got to know the right people. You can know the right people too.
Welcome back to hour one of our Monday edition of the Clarence Bug Show. Thank you so very much, guys and girls, for allowing us into your homes and your businesses as we continue to talk all things Louisiana. As many of you get back out and about now, getting more forward in the reopening process, you're going to be noticing some differences in your motoring travels. And joining us for this segment is the Secretary of our very own Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development, Dr. Shawn Wilson. Dr. Wilson, how are you, my friend?
I'm well, Clarence. Good morning to you and your listeners.
So let's start talking about the I-10 widening project at the Baton Rouge Ascension Line. How do we stand as we speak?
Well, we are in a really good place. We're estimated to complete that project mid-fall of this year. As you know, we are widening from 4 to 6 lanes from Highland all the way to 73 in both directions. We started this in February of 2018, if you remember, as a result of our success on a previous discretionary program. We're spending about $72 million, and this is going to impact about 95,000 drivers a day.
Wow.
So when you multiply that by time savings, by fuel savings, and just a quality drive experience, both from a safety perspective and just a routine perspective, we're making a huge difference. And so right now, you should know that we did not end work on this project and others during the stay-at-home order, so it made it a little easier for folks to work a little bit more efficiently in a much more safe condition because they had fewer cars out. And right now, we've got crews working on the eastbound exit at Highway 73. And we're doing some existing pavement repairs. So in this project, you may see that we're only adding a new lane and a safety barrier. And we're going to repair the pavement condition on the outside 2 lanes. And so that's already in process. You're going to see eastbound lane closures begin this weekend at LA 73 off-ramp, and that's really to remove the barriers that have been there for paving purposes.
Okay.
And we're going to have nightly lane closures out there as well. Folks always say, why don't you do work at night? Here's an example of us doing work at night, and those lanes will be open by 5 a.m. And so we're pretty excited about this. Opening it up later this fall is going to be a really exciting time because this is going to save about 10 to 15 minutes for folks who are traveling in, and it won't be as pressured. And in the unfortunate situation that there's an accident, you have additional space to go around that safely. So hopefully we won't see any complete closures in this stretch like we have seen in the past because the accident occupied 2 lanes and there was nowhere else to go. So we're excited about this project.
On another note, your office recently announced the selection of a contractor to build the bridges for the Comit Diversion Canal project.
Yes.
This is huge, is it not? And a long time coming.
If this wasn't being advertised and publicly said, I'd say it like some elected official said, that this is a big deal, but with another word in between. This is a huge project. And again, we have worked with the federal government and others. You may remember a major announcement that we made with our congressional staff and the governor, or our congressional officials, that this project was fully funded. And so much so the department leaned forward to say, how do we help accelerate this so that we have multiple contracts going on at the same time? Last week, the state announced that Bow Brothers Construction Company would be the contractor responsible for 3 bridges. That's a bridge at LA 67, LA 19, and a new railroad bridge structure over the canal, what would be the canal at LA 19. And those are very small bridges compared to the project that the Corps just announced. And the Corps announced a $55 million bid to James Construction to build the bridge at US 61 and the Kansas City Southern Railroad Bridge along 61, as well as the canal. So we've got all the contracts currently in place to begin construction and move forward with an expected completion in late 2021. Now, remember, this is all about earth and soil and what's happening on the ground. And so given the weather conditions that we see, I'm not asking folks not to expect 2021, but realizing that we are kicking off hurricane season today, and that means a wetter environment potentially.
Right.
And so we're excited about it. More importantly, internally, this was the first CMAR project for the state of Louisiana from the road infrastructure side. While we have written a manual, others have used it, we've not actually had an opportunity to do so. And this is where we have an engineering firm that's hired working directly for the department. And then we identify a contractor who's going to work directly for the department, and we work as a threesome as opposed to having a complete set of plans, then issue it out to a contractor. That takes longer and may not be the most efficient, or putting a design build situation where the construction is leading perhaps some of the design elements. And so we're excited about this new procurement method. It's the same thing that we're going to use for the bridge to the split, where we have already identified our engineer and are going to be procuring the contractor later this year.
Unfortunately, your agency many times ends up being the scapegoat for bureaucracy, lack of funding, and other things. How hopeful are you, Dr. Wilson, that when this project is completed, this decades-old project, people will start to have a renewed sense of faith in DOTD?
Well, you're absolutely right, and it's the nature of the beast, and it comes with the territory that we get blamed because we are the only thing standing between the delivery of this project and the public. The reality is it was never fully funded in terms of the federal government, and we worked very hard after the flood of 2016. The governor and I went to D.C. and sat in the Major General's office and talked about how important this is, and this had never happened before. And as a result, we took a leap of faith and built a relationship, and our congressional delegation followed through and delivered full funding for this. And that's not the norm for core projects or for transportation projects, quite frankly. And I think more full funding of projects will be the answer to giving the public hope and confidence that we will do what we said we were going to do, because leadership changes. Considering that this is a 30-year-old project, how many other senators, how many legislators, how many parish presidents have there been, how many heads of the Corps, how many secretaries? And as a result of those changes, it gave the system an excuse to not deliver, because you could either point the finger at someone else. And our approach in John Bell's administration, Governor Edwards' administration, is we can be responsible for what we can be responsible for, and we will deliver it as best we can.
Motorists here in the capital area, as we shift gears, can expect to encounter some road closures and lane shifts earlier this month. What's that all about, Dr. Wilson?
So you make a very good point. We have routine work that's always ongoing, and we would want to stress that folks should be prepared and adhere to safety measures when they do that. And you should always check 511la.org for traffic information. But what we're looking at right now is camera maintenance. And why is camera maintenance so important? We use that to make decisions around traffic control, around dispatching the Motor Assist Patrol, which is a very popular service. And these cameras have maintenance issues every now and then, or even being replaced. And this is a citywide project, and it's done by a city. And North Baton Rouge on College, for example, there's a number of cameras that are installed at that College intersection, both for College and I-10. And we're going to have lane closures beginning this week to address that. And so we're going to do the same thing over on Goodwood. That'll start on Thursday. Airline at Old Hammond, that'll be on Friday. And so you can expect to see those, and we would ask all of your drivers, expect it from 9 to 3:30 p.m., weather permitting, and recognizing that we may get some showers today. That will cause us to delay, but expect those closures, and that's really going to be designed for us to do more work efficiently by updating cameras and making sure they're operating properly.
As more and more motorists return to the roads these days, as we continue the gradual reopening process, how important is safety behind the wheel, particularly for DOTD work crews and your employees?
You know, safety is job one for us. I've had the unfortunate pleasure of burying 3 employees in situations that were all avoidable. And that is not what we want to do and how we want our folks to be remembered by. And I would much rather say most of the accidents we have are avoidable because they are, whether it's driving distracted or inattentive driving or not paying attention and looking at what's happening in front of you. And so as folks begin to ramp up, they may not see the same level of congestion right away that they had seen prior to COVID-19.
Right.
And that's no excuse to go faster. That's no excuse to take risks in terms of what happens, because transportation work is essential. And those folks have been there, and they will continue to be there until we finish our job. And so when you have those accidents, it does a number of things. It has a financial impact on us. It delays traffic or congestion mitigation. And the answer is, if we can move safely through a corridor, everyone will operate it more efficiently or operate through there more efficiently. And so I would just ask you drivers, put your seatbelts on, put your phones down. You know, you don't have kids out on the street as much in terms of school and school buses. Take advantage of this to enjoy the ride and do it safely.
Dr. Shawn Wilson, Secretary of the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development, thank you on behalf of a grateful motoring public for being as efficient as possible and helping us all to have one less thing to worry about when we get out and about on Louisiana's roadways.
Well, thank you, Clarence, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk to your listeners.
You're quite welcome, sir. Take care.
Thank you.
It is something that we have neglected in our state for far too long. And off the record, Dr. Wilson and I were talking before that segment began. We're still about $14 billion in the hold as far as road and bridge repair and needs are concerned. But we'll get there. And hopefully we will get there safely rather than the other way around. We need to get our final break of hour one out of the way today. We will do that, and we will continue to, as my late father would say, soldier on, right here on our Monday edition of the Clarence Bugg Show. Keep it where you've got it. Oh, and don't forget, tomorrow, the Exiles, Bill Profita, Kevin Gallagher, same place, same time, same channel, right here on the Pelican. Stay close.
Hi, Hi, I'm Bobby Yarborough with Manda Fine Meats. Here at Manda, we know what the folks of South Louisiana love. They love great flavored smoked sausage, delicious deli meats, and specialty items like boudin and andouille sausage. Manda Fine Meats has been providing these products since 1947. We produce them right here in Baton Rouge, so you know you're always getting the freshest product at your local grocery store. Manda Fine Meats. Taste the fresh local flavor in everything we make. Make it Manda every time.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling. Nothing could ever bring me down. Nothing could ever bring me down. Taste the feeling.
Exiles from what you ask? Exiled from the radio. But now, we're on your television.
I'm Bill Profita, he's Kevin Gallagher, and they kicked us to the curb.
But we're back.
We are back with Exiles Television on the Pelican Broadcasting Network. We're going to bring you the newsmakers. We're also going to take your calls and give you great information. It's going to be the best damn radio show on television.
Look for it on your cable system or download the app, PelicanSportsTV.com.
From appetizers, pasta dishes, and entrees, La Contea takes pride in preparing all the Italian cuisine we know you love. Enjoy live music every Thursday through Saturday from 6 to 9, happy hour weekdays from 3 to 6, and brunch on Sundays from 11 to 2, as well as dinner portion-sized lunch specials for under $10. Visit our website to view our menu and book a party or meeting in our large banquet room. Once you try La Contea, your Italian dining will change forever.
Live and play on the fairway at Greystone Golf and Country Club, a serene, challenging golf destination located in Denham Springs. For tee times and membership opportunities, go to GreystoneCountryClub.com.
Welcome back to hour one of our Monday edition of the Clarence Bug Show. Ever so slowly, we continue to get some semblance of normalcy in this post-COVID-19 pandemic world that we all inhabit now. Good news here in the Capital Region, Our Lady of the Lake Regional Medical Center announcing that they are slowly now returning to their normal patient visitation protocols. As I'm sure you're all aware of by now, hospitals all across the state had to severely curtail, if not eliminate altogether, the visitation of patients, obviously in the interest of keeping the hospital staff and patients safe from COVID-19. In relaxing these guidelines, Our Lady of the Lake Regional Medical Center, and I'm sure this will probably hold true for other hospitals all across the state, it is not a complete return to normalcy. For example, for Our Lady of the Lake Regional Medical Center, visitation of patients will be limited to one visitor identified as the designated advocate for that person. Visiting hours will be from 8 a.m. until 8 p.m. Visitors will be screened for symptoms daily and will receive a wristband with the current date that must be worn for the duration of that visit. It is still strongly recommended that people who have chronic conditions such as diabetes, lung or heart disease, or if you are simply older than 70, they are advising that you do not visit patients in their facilities for your own protection. Obviously, this is not, quote, set in stone. Patients who are confirmed COVID-19 or persons that are under investigation for COVID-19 will not be allowed except for end-of-life situations. For inpatients whose conditions may necessitate that the designated advocate is key to their care or necessary to provide assistance or medical history, that person may be allowed to stay overnight in collaboration with the clinical team. Surgery and procedures, patients undergoing surgery or procedures may have one designated visitor who will be permitted to assist with the arrival, registration, and the post-operative process if needed. There are a long list of exceptions there. So before you go to your respective hospital anywhere in Louisiana, it is a pretty prudent measure to go to that hospital's website, view and familiarize yourself with the procedures, and that way you don't just show up and find yourself in an uncomfortable or embarrassing situation. It is going to continue for a while, and it is just a necessary part of what we're dealing with right now. And understanding hospitals, many of them are doing this in good faith, which means it is incumbent upon us to govern ourselves accordingly. I know it's gotten to be a sore spot and a sore refrain for many people, but it is simply the operative phrase of the day: personal accountability and responsibility. It is something that you can never exercise too much of, and quite frankly, at the end of the day, it is all about your safety and the safety of those who are already in compromised situations. So, again, the ounce of prevention worth more than the pound of cure. Familiarize yourselves with these protocols for each respective hospital, because again, they're going to be different from facility to facility. Familiarize yourself, become accustomed, and govern yourselves accordingly. Speaking of governing ourselves accordingly, by now, unless you have purposely avoided the news cycle, you are well aware of all the violent protests that are taking place across our country in response to the death of George Floyd. I don't think there's a person in America, maybe on the planet now for that matter, that's not already seen the video. Law enforcement, again, coming under fire for the actions of a few. And quite frankly, it is just that, the actions of a few. What those officers did is something that is pretty much beyond debate. I think every single person that's seen the video and is familiar in the least with the case knows full well that that was not the way to handle the situation. Now, speaking of not the way to handle the situation, the individuals out there that are taking advantage of this situation to riot, to loot, to damage property, those individuals need to be held accountable for their actions. One of the things, the tenets that we hold most dear in this country is the right to peacefully assemble and protest. That is a right that is embedded in the Constitution. It is not your right to go out and destroy property. It is not your right to go out and endanger someone's life. And quite frankly, I think George Floyd would be appalled at the actions of many people that are out protesting in his name. It is a sad commentary that when this issue came to light, the overwhelming majority of people in this country were of the opinion that this was wrong. And quite frankly, those that are protesting now need to rise to the occasion and tell those individuals that are seeking to turn this situation into chaos that they're not welcome there. What is happening in many circles of this country is that those who are on the side of protesters are now starting to change their minds. George Floyd's life should not be dishonored in this fashion. It should not be a case where all we end up remembering is the ugly that happened in the aftermath. There is no surer way on the planet to lose support for a righteous cause than to allow individuals to hijack that cause only in the interest of chaos. It is beyond me and many people how anyone could think destroying property, hurting lives, and putting innocent people in harm's way could ever help to further a righteous cause. At the end of the day, those that are peacefully protesting are carrying out what is the purest of American rights and responsibilities, letting government officials and others know their displeasure. But when you allow others to hijack that protest, not only are you hurting the cause of the protest, you are also hurting the rights and the freedoms that we as Americans enjoy in this country. Now listen, I'm no Pollyanna. I understand full well that there are individuals out there that live to exploit a tragic situation. We've always had those individuals. God knows we probably always will. But when those individuals decide to do what they do, it is incumbent upon the rest of us to let them know in no uncertain terms that this is not what we're about. This is not what this cause is about. And quite frankly, we're not going to stand for individuals being opportunistic charlatans. Quite frankly, that's all they are. There are many people in America in the streets these days because they are righteously hurt. They see parts of our system that are broken. But as my late father used to say, and I'm sure your parents probably told you this growing up ad nauseum, two wrongs don't make a right. And at the end of the day, a civilized society cannot prosper, cannot further itself when chaos becomes the rule of the day. At some point, you're going to have to tamp down on this. And quite frankly, I think it's gone way past where it should have been allowed to go. But that's just my humble opinion. Hopefully, the guys and girls that are there to peacefully protest will in no uncertain terms let the rabble-rousers know that this is not acceptable and this is not why we are here. I understand the emotion of the moment. As a man of color, my spirit is wounded every time I see an incident like the one that took the life of George Floyd. But when all is said and done, we're still Americans, and we still have the right to peacefully protest and make our grievances known. That is, up and until we allow individuals who are only there for chaos to hijack the entire situation. Hopefully, real Americans will step forth and let these others know that we're not going to stand for them using an opportunity to further their own agenda. We've got our top of the hour break just around the corner. Historic day this weekend here in America. A return to space, American-built rocket carrying American astronauts launched from American soil, first time in nearly a decade. We've got a very special guest that's hopefully going to be on one of those rockets in the near future. She'll join us here on set to start hour 2 of the Clarence Bugg Show. I don't mind telling you guys and girls at all, I felt a swell of pride watching the launch this weekend that I've not felt in quite some time. And I felt even better about it knowing in the near future there's going to be somebody on one of those rockets, and she's from right here in Louisiana. We'll spend some time with Alissa Carson, hopefully astronaut extraordinaire in the very near future, after our top of the hour break in hour 2 of the Clarence Bug Show. Stay close.
Hello guys, it's Debbie. It's time. I've got a brand new location. 10510 Airline Highway, Baton Rouge, next to After 5 Tuxedos. We have the perfect spot to get all your wedding and formal wear needs. Come see our one-of-a-kind name brand and get great prices. With 30 years experience, the best customer service anywhere. It's Debbie's Bridal, Airline Highway, Baton Rouge. See you soon.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling. Nothing could ever bring me down. Nothing could ever bring me down. Taste the feeling.
For total home pest control, who are you going to call?
Call the Bug Man, 923-BUGS.
For total pest control for your home or business, call the original Salvat.
Call the Bug Man today, 923-BUGS.
Welcome back as we start hour 2 of today's edition of the Clarence Bug Show. If you are like me, this weekend you watched the return to space and you felt this huge swell of pride. American astronauts aboard an American-built rocket launched on American soil, first time in almost a decade now. And if you're like me, you also felt that swell of pride because one of the 2 astronauts on board attended Tulane, so there's a Louisiana connection there. And if you look down the road in the future, there's another Louisiana connection there. Alissa Carson joins us, astronaut in training. And first off, I've got to ask, you have been jet setting just all over the world. How many countries did you tell me?
Yeah, about 26.
26 countries since you started this odyssey of becoming an astronaut. And now all of a sudden, there's the stay-home order. What was that like for you?
Yeah, definitely a lot of stuff got canceled. So obviously there's no like trainings or anything, you know, space related too much. I mean, the biggest thing was I was planning on continuing to do flying and getting my instrument rating. And yeah, just kind of advance as a pilot. But I was kind of planning on doing that at my school, but they're not really running too much of their programs, so it's just kind of debating if I'm going to do it kind of with like a private instructor, like what I did initially, or what's going to happen.
So for those that don't know, who is Alissa Carson?
That's a hard question.
No, it's not. Who would know better than Alissa Carson? Who is she?
I mean, basically, ever since I was a little girl, I had a dream of wanting to go to space, and since then have just been pursuing that passion and that dream by trying to build as much stuff as I can on almost like building a resume like you would apply for any job. So
Right.
almost treating an astronaut like any sort of regular job, picking out what career I'm interested in, seeing the requirements, and starting to build up those skills to eventually apply to the selection process.
Okay, now you gave me the standard answer, but who is Alissa Carson? What is she like? What does she do in downtime? Who is this person?
I guess just a goofy person. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. There's two different, because there's like NASA Blueberry, I guess, which is
Right.
like very sciencey and like smart, and then
Right.
Alyssa's just she can be kind of dumb sometimes.
So when you say Blueberry, for those that don't know, that's your call sign, right? And for those that don't know what that is, what's the call sign, and how did you get that one as a call sign?
Yeah, so call signs like kind of originated more so like in the military. Military pilots would kind of get nicknames based on funny stories that have happened, and anyway, they eventually replaced that as their first name. Some of those military pilots, as they moved to the astronaut corps, they kind of kept their call signs, and then astronauts actually eventually started gaining their own call signs, even though they weren't in the military. So basically, the second time I went to space camp, I wanted one of the blue flight suits that everyone was wearing, but I was kind of too short and too small at the time to fit in
Right.
any of the actual ones.
Right.
So my dad ended up finding almost like this knockoff brand one, basically, and it just wasn't the right color and wasn't really exactly correct. And
Right.
so when I wore it, everyone told me I looked like a blueberry, and it just kind of continued years and years. Everyone just kept calling me Blueberry.
Yeah. So when the space bug bit you as a child, did you ever say to yourself, this is not realistic? I mean, you know, an astronaut, as a baby boomer growing up, people would always ask, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? And we all had the standard answer, you know, President of the United States, an astronaut, things of that nature. But in the back of our minds, we kind of knew it wasn't realistic. Did you ever have doubts throughout all of this?
Not really. I mean, I was pretty sold on becoming an astronaut. Obviously, with the missions to Mars and stuff, when I was younger, it kind of was unrealistic because we weren't really talking about the missions to Mars.
Right.
But they have become more and more of a reality now that we're actually working towards that. I mean, of course, I did have other ideas of things I wanted to do, but becoming an astronaut was always first on my list.
Right.
And the cool thing about wanting to become an astronaut is that you actually have to have a career to become an astronaut. So you can't just like go to school and study to become an astronaut.
Right.
And so you kind of always have a backup plan because you have to get your degree and a career in something to eventually apply as an astronaut. So you kind of already have a career base in something that you're interested in.
How does Alissa Carson think her friends would describe her?
I mean, I would probably think, well, it kind of depends. So, like, a lot of, like, out-of-state friends, like, friends I've met since moving to Florida and all, they just think I'm probably, like, very Louisiana. Like, if I talk about, like, Louisiana-related things or even, like, watching the national championship way back when. Yeah, anyway, so just probably very out there, very Louisiana, but probably all my friends here are probably just, like, used to it all at this point.
All right, two-part question. What is the hardest thing about being Alissa Carson, and what's the coolest thing about being Alissa Carson?
Yeah, I mean, probably the hardest is just time management with school, as well as just different trainings that I'm interested in doing.
Right.
You know, also just being a normal person and, you know, whatever. And so definitely time management and balancing between all those things and making sure everything gets done. But definitely the coolest is all the different things I've gotten to do. So microgravity flights, water survival training, G-force training, decompression training, all the fancy space-related things I've gotten to do.
Have you had to overcome any fears as a result of your training? Is there something that really comes to mind that you're like, man, I really don't know about this, but I gotta do it if I want to pursue this dream?
I mean, there's been a lot of stuff along the way that obviously like I've been scared to do. For example, like with the water survival training, they like flipped us upside down like underwater, and we were like buckled into a chair and we had to like get out.
Right.
And obviously I was terrified because like I'm gonna drown because that's like your first thought.
Right.
And so yeah, there's been all kinds of stuff like that. But for me, it's definitely just like hitting it and going through it the first time. Because once I do it once, I know I can do it.
Right.
And so, yeah, it's just always getting through it the first time. There's like another thing where we had to like walk off of this like platform that was like pretty high, and I just like, I didn't even look down, I just kept walking, and it was just like, I'm just getting it over with.
Right.
But yeah, it's just definitely all about pushing through that first time, because after I do it the first time, I'm happy to do it, 100 times after that, but it's always just that first time.
You mentioned a little while ago just being a, quote, normal person. I hate to burst your bubble, but you're not normal. You're not. So what went through your mind the first time you realized, I'm not normal. I'm not like everybody else. And I don't know how comfortable you are with it, but it comes with the territory. You're a pioneer. You're a trailblazer. What's that like?
Well, I mean, definitely it was, growing up, people would always, ask what you wanted to do, and obviously a lot of people were like, I don't know, and I was like, well, I'm going to be an astronaut, and it was definitely pretty solid in the fact of, like, what I wanted to do. So that was probably, like, the biggest thing. It's just, like, I realized that so many people had so many questions and just didn't know what they were interested in as early on as I was.
So what do you say to other young people, especially girls, who don't think they can accomplish their dreams?
Yeah, definitely. It's just a lot about first starting and finding whatever dream you are passionate about, but it's super important to explore, all different kinds of careers that you could be into. And so definitely, going back to like school is kind of really helpful with that, with like subjects that you're interested in and seeing different career opportunities that kind of come from that. But once you actually find the career that you're interested in, it's all about looking for information about it, going after it, following that dream, following that passion, and never letting someone take it away from you.
What can we adults do a better job of with young people in helping them to achieve their potential?
Yeah, I definitely think that it's slowly getting away from more of, I guess, the traditional jobs, because there's so many different jobs out there in the world.
Right.
But I feel like, there's definitely a few that really are always fixated on, whether it's doctor, lawyer, the typical jobs that you would tell someone to do.
Right.
And so definitely it's kind of like exploring all sorts of new jobs, like rocket engineer is, a type of jobs that you can go do, or making space food for the astronauts, or, whatever kind of out there job, just realizing the amount of possibilities that we do have.
So what are you focusing on? Obviously there's the astronaut thing, but there's so many subcategories, things on the periphery, so on and so forth. Have you zeroed in on one thing in particular?
Yeah, so I'm studying astrobiology, and then with that, I am going to, or I hope to be kind of one of like the mission specialists, research scientists.
Right.
And that would be kind of like my contribution to the mission.
Right.
So for example, if the mission was like going to Mars, then my role would be, collecting soil samples, studying the atmosphere on Mars, testing water samples, really just like testing everything about Mars and like it like as a thing, and just like learning as much as possible about it. And then as well as, with astrobiology here on Earth and just doing research here, with astrobiology you can study anywhere from bacteria to plants to entire planets. So it's really all about your interests.
Can you stick around for a few minutes?
Sure.
For me? All right. How cool is that, guys? Girls? How cool is that? Yeah, I'm studying astrobiology. Like my head wants to explode, right? Astrobiology. I didn't even know there was such a thing, but there you go. Tell you what, we're gonna bang this quick break, get it out of the way, and we're gonna come back and talk more with a Louisiana treasure. Astronaut in training, Alissa Carson, as we continue our tour. Oh, I want you to tell us about your patches too. I'm looking at all the patches on the suit. Is there a favorite one you have? Think about that during this commercial break, and we're coming right back here on the Pelican. Stay close.
Sometimes life is wonderful, and sometimes it's not. Cherish the good, but always be prepared for life's challenges. At Private Healthcare, we provide the peace of mind you deserve. With Private Healthcare, you'll get the coverage you want and healthcare you need. If your employer doesn't supply healthcare coverage and you don't qualify for Medicare or Medicaid, you need to give us a call right now. Private Healthcare is private health insurance for ages 65 and under with medical, dental, vision, and even prescription coverage. When life comes at you unexpectedly, you need to be ready. And health insurance is your financial safety net. Health insurance has never been so easy and affordable. If you're looking for health coverage at the best price and your annual household income is $35,000 or more, call the number on the screen now and speak with a live healthcare consultant. Don't wait. Get the coverage you need now.
Says here that Eric Gaylord is back. Now, where's he been?
Well, I was told he had joined the CIA, trying to stop the Russians from stealing our election.
Vodka. Nazdorovia.
Nazdorovia.
3 elections.
That's right, the Clarence Bug Show is back, along with the Exiles, Bill Profita and Kevin Gallagher. We put the band back together, South Louisiana's talk team, and it's only on the Pelican. 10 a.m. till 12 noon, right here on the Pelican.
From appetizers, pasta dishes, and entrees, La Contea takes pride in preparing all the Italian cuisine we know you love. Enjoy live music every Thursday through Saturday from 6 to 9, happy hour weekdays from 3 to 6, and brunch on Sundays from 11 to 2, as well as dinner portion-sized lunch specials for under $10. Visit our website to view our menu and book a party or meeting in our large banquet room. Once you try La Contea, your Italian dining will change forever.
Welcome back to Hour 2 of today's edition of the Clarence Bug Show. We're spending some time with astronaut in training Alissa Carson, obviously in the wake of this historic launch this past weekend. First time private company venturing into space. So what went through your mind Wednesday when we got all the way down to 17 minutes and change and the mission was scrubbed? What was that like?
Yeah, I mean, definitely it's not the best. I mean, obviously we would have loved to see them take off on Wednesday, but since there were so many weather issues, as well as, they were experiencing, a boat out in the middle of the water and little things like that, we have to make sure that everything is absolutely safe for both the astronauts and also everyone around. We want to make sure everything's all good. So, obviously the right call was made to move it to a time when there is better weather and we can guarantee that everything's going to go right. But yeah, no, I had sat through like 2 hours of the live and then well, that's not happening, and then just kind of moved on with the day. But yeah, super glad to see that it got to go on Saturday.
So when on Saturday the countdown gets to 5, 4, and we know we're going now, what was it like watching that rocket lift off?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's, kind of like you've been saying, it definitely just ignites a lot of pride and also just like emotion and seeing how much work and time goes into something like this and how it's actually become so successful of a mission. SpaceX definitely has worked incredibly hard to kind of pioneer and become, this private space company that's able to bring NASA astronauts or maybe even their own astronauts one day to the International Space Station. So definitely it's a super special moment.
How do you view this? Because one of the things, Alissa, that really struck me in watching the pre-flight coverage and everything was it doesn't look like a traditional rocket. I mean, it looks like, it doesn't look like a government-built rocket. I mean, it's sleek, it's cool in design. When you look at the capsule itself on the inside, they've got touch screens. Normally you would expect 5,000 switches and buttons and stuff. It looks like something that a private company built. how much cooler is it now to be an astronaut than it was, I don't know, 10, 20, 30 years ago?
Yeah, definitely SpaceX has changed the game on that.
Oh, yeah.
They have, it's almost like they're proving their point. They can build rockets and they can make them look cool at the same time. I know that, I think that the spacesuits that the astronauts wore that were built by SpaceX, they got someone who does like superhero costumes, that kind of thing, to come in with the design element and stuff of it, just to make it look cool. So yeah, it's definitely pretty interesting to see how it's kind of changed a bit. Obviously SpaceX is definitely focused on like functionality, making sure everything is works properly, everything is going to be as effective as possible, but they're able to do it in a way that also makes space look cool again, which is super important because, in this day and age, it's important to ignite that passion of space for the next generation of kids to get interested in space. And a little kid seeing this touchscreen rocket with all these bells and whistles is going to get them interested in space, and that's something really, really cool.
You are, for lack of a better phrase, the right person in the right place at the right time. How cool is it to be where you are right now, watching this transition, seeing the cool factor now being restored in the space exploration? I mean, do you ever have to pinch yourself to say, how is it I ended up in this place at this time, the perfect person for the job? What's that been like?
Well, yeah, no, it's definitely pretty crazy. I mean, I'm definitely glad that I was kind of able to see, because when I got interested in space, we were still in the shuttle program, and we were obviously still having some shuttle launches, which I think was kind of cool to kind of see the end of that program, and then kind of living through almost like this space gap, the 9 years that we kind of haven't really been sending too much. Obviously, a lot has been going on behind the scenes, and in terms of like building the next rocket and that kind of thing. But yeah, it's been kind of crazy to go through all that, and then just kind of seeing the progression now of what's going on. It definitely just feels completely surreal. I mean, even on Saturday, it was just taking a few moments like they're actually like going to space, like this is like actually happening, and it's so crazy to see how far the space program has progressed, and that's super exciting to see. Obviously with someone with an interest of wanting to work for the space program, it's crazy to see how far it's progressed, to see that it's kind of catching up towards what I'm interested in, and it's crazy how it's all just working its way along.
Do you ever find yourself in quiet moments, or when you're speaking in front of big groups of young people and adults for that matter, do you ever feel pressure on Alissa Carson, knowing that she's a young role model, she's a pioneer, she's doing things that a lot of people, quite frankly, never thought she would be able to do? What's that like, having to live with that?
Yeah, I mean, definitely inspiring kids and being able to like show that to other people, or show people the ability to, follow their own dreams is obviously amazing. I mean, I guess there's like a slight bit of pressure, but I mean, I don't necessarily feel, too much in terms of like inspiring others, just because, I mean, sharing my story is just kind of like what I'm used to. It's also like talking about myself, which is like, not necessarily like something hard to do. But yeah, it's just been really cool to be able to share that. And then in terms of obviously like the aspirations I have, I mean, I know that I'm working my hardest to achieve that, and other people watching along, but obviously, if something happens or whatever, it's kind of out of my control, or, if I do, let's say, change my mind, at the end of the day, like, it is kind of like my dream and my passion. So yeah, I'm just gonna keep working on what interests me and try to inspire some people along the way.
Let's look a little ways down the road. Let's say 5 years from now. Where does Alissa Carson see herself?
Still probably in school, which is like really sad to say, to be honest. But like obviously I just finished my freshman year of college, which was super exciting. So that's, gonna be like another 3 years, at least. And then, and then going towards a master's. NASA recently actually kind of upped the requirements to apply to be an astronaut, so you actually have to have a master's now to apply to become an astronaut.
Right.
So I was kind of already wanting to get a master's, but just kind of continuing through my education, as well as, continuing to build any sort of skills, work experience, any sort of jobs, internships, anything in the world to kind of help with a resume.
If all were to go according to plan, how early do you think you will find yourself saying, well, I'm strapped in, countdown is under 10 seconds, this is it, I'm going up?
Well, right now, obviously, the goal with the mission to Mars would be 2033, the early 2030s. And so, that's really kind of the time.
Can you wait that long?
Well, yes. Well, the thing is, it sounds like so much time, but like after like going to school for, like I said, like another 4 or 5, 6 years maybe, and then having work experience, and then applying to the astronaut selection process, and then after that, every astronaut has to go through basic astronaut training. There's still so many steps along the way that just kind of come with time. You can't really like jump ahead on them or anything like that. So there's definitely stuff to fill in that time.
If not an astronaut, what would Alissa Carson have been?
I obviously, like, if I don't become an astronaut, I would still work in astrobiology, since that's kind of like the career I'm going into. But like even like as a little girl, if I had just like strayed away from being an astronaut at all, I still do think I would have ended up in a STEM career. I'm just like everything else, like I'm just not really like an English person, or I don't know. I can't really think. Like I wouldn't be. I know that I still wouldn't. I wouldn't be an engineer. That's for sure. I'm really glad they can do that. So yeah, I would definitely be in some kind of science path, I think. But yeah, I'm not sure if it would still be astrobiology, because that's kind of space specific. I could have had an interest in space, but yeah, some sort of science.
So the patches on your flight suit, is there a favorite one that you remember that experience more than any others?
Yeah, definitely the patches come from all sorts of places. This one right here, ISU, is the master's university that I kind of hope to attend in the future, which is like pretty cool. Also, several astronauts have come out of there, and then Space Hipsters is pretty fun, just because we all like to appreciate being space geeks sometimes.
How many camps have you been to in different places as this ordeal has all unfolded?
Yeah, so I've been to space camp 19 times.
19?
That is over the course of since I was 7 to basically now.
Listen at this, since I was 7.
So yeah, I did go a good bit of times, and then that was kind of, the space camp in Huntsville, the space camp in Turkey, the space camp in Canada. I've obviously gone to like a few other camps kind of around the country, Virginia Spaceflight Academy, Cosmosphere, and all these different programs. But each one kind of has like their own specialty. Like Virginia Spaceflight Academy was kind of more rocketry and robotics based, whereas like Space Camp may focus more on space, and they just kind of like differed in skills.
Is now a good time for young people to start focusing in on space exploration? A lot of people are now saying what we witnessed Saturday was the beginning of commercial space travel. That's something regular folks like myself, we only think about when we see Star Trek or Star Wars or something like that. But for people of your generation, it now seems as though it's getting closer to being a reality, where you buy a ticket and you go up into space. How cool is that?
Yeah, definitely now is the time to start getting interested in the space program. There is just so much happening as space tourism, commercial space, there's more job opportunities, so yeah, now's the time.
It is a name and a face that you're going to see and hear a whole lot more about. And remember, she is a Louisiana treasure, And we're only loaning you to Florida. Let them know that we're just loaning you to Florida. You will always be a Louisianian. Alissa Carson, astronaut in training, and we'll be talking more with her as that day approaches. Bottom of the hour break, we get her done, and we'll wrap up the second hour of the Clarence Bug Show. Stay close.
For total home pest control, who are you going to call?
Call the Bug Man, 923-BUGS.
For total pest control for your home or business, call the original Salvat.
Call the Bug Man today, 923-BUGS.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling. Nothing could ever bring me down. Nothing could ever bring me down. Taste the feeling.
Live and play on the fairway at Greystone Golf and Country Club, a serene, challenging golf destination located in Denham Springs. For tee times and membership opportunities, go to greystonecountryclub.com.
Bolello's Furniture and Appliances, your dependable independent. Depend on us for service, for selection, for price. Get huge Whirlpool savings. Shop now and save on Whirlpool appliances throughout the store. Plus, experience our price match guarantee and ask about special financing.
You can depend on the know-how of people who live appliances every day.
Bolello's Furniture and Appliances, your dependable independent with nationwide buying power.
Exiles from what you ask? Exiled from the radio. But now, we're on your television.
I'm Bill Perfita, he's Kevin Gallagher, and they kicked us to the curb.
But we're back.
We are back with Exiles Television on the Pelican Broadcasting Network. We're going to bring you the newsmakers. We're also going to take your calls and give you great information. It's going to be the best damn radio show on television.
Look for it on your cable system or download the app, PelicanSportsTV.com.
They said I could find you here. Why are you fishing? Our company's got to ship out 2 full color brochures and 20 color copies. You're killing me.
It's done. Designed, printed, packaged, and shipped.
How?
You just got to know the right people. Baker Printing, the printing people.
How come you get to fish in this private lake?
Like I said, you just got to know the right people. You can know the right people too.
Welcome back to the Monday edition of the Clarence Bug Show. Make up your mind, Marty. Which way you going to point me? Which camera? Which camera you going to point me to? It is so very awesome to spend time with Alissa Carson. She is the daughter of one of the guys affiliated with the show and one of the co-owners of Pelican Broadcasting Company. And Bert, her dad, used to drag her along to shoots when we would shoot various TV shows, one of which was the Roger Cador show that we've been doing. How long have we been doing this now, Coach?
16 years.
16 years. Wow. And Alissa was there with us from the very beginning. I know we used to take turns entertaining her with the crew. During commercial breaks, we'd all take turns trying to keep her occupied and keep her busy during the course. And man, nothing makes you realize how quickly time goes by than spending time with young people, does it, Coach?
It really does. And you see them grow up to be responsible adults.
Mm-hmm.
It's a wonderful thing, I tell you. You know?
Yeah. And just think, this came from Bert. It's still hard to figure that one out, isn't it?
Well, she had a mother.
Yeah. Let's talk a little sports, Coach, in this COVID-19 pandemic world that we're dealing with. How hopeful are you that HBCUs are going to have football this fall? Is that a realistic hope for you?
Well, if your big conferences have football, your big schools, HBCUs will have football because they're going to piggyback on whatever the big boys are doing.
Right.
And, and the thing is, football does have flexibility. And what I mean by that, Clarence, is that they could play in the spring if they have to.
Right.
And that's one of the scenarios being explored. And I think if it goes to that, it's probably going to be in their best interest. Let me tell you why.
Okay.
You won't have all of the things to compete against. High school football, big-time college football. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
NFL. You won't be competing against, and there may be more disposable dollars to buy tickets. So there are a lot of things that could, and I want to use the word could, work in their favor.
As a guy who has been there and done that, a guy that's familiar with all the logistics from the administrative standpoint and the like, would you rather it be pushed back to the spring?
Well, simply because we don't have a vaccine yet, and the virus hasn't gone away.
Right.
And based upon what the professional people are saying, it could come back in the fall and in the winter.
Right.
So you don't want to start it and we have a breakout and then you can't complete it. You got me?
Good point. Good point.
Yeah, so there are so many scenarios that the administration and the head of the universities, they have to come up with. I mean, they have to make tough decisions. Remember, there is no blueprint you can go to because this has never happened. So everything is, you learn as you go. Sort of like a baby. Babies learning how to walk and talk as they go along. You got me?
Yeah. So you talk about major schools, the Power 5 conferences and the like, what that would do to them from a financial standpoint not to have football this fall. What would it mean for HBCUs to not have football this fall?
It wouldn't hurt them as much. I tell you.
Really?
Probably save money. No, it wouldn't hurt them as much. You know, HBCU is the one main sport that brings money is football. The other big conferences, they make money literally in all their sports. You see what I'm saying? So,
right.
Well, they make it in basketball, and certainly a few schools make something in baseball. So, but they're more financially viable with other sports. HBCU's football is it, baby.
Yeah.
Football is it. And more than not have football, what would they do with the Bays? The Bays is bigger than football.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Anytime you get Jackson State and Southern playing each other, the game itself is kind of an afterthought. Most people are there to see the Sonic Boom of the South match up against the human jukebox.
That's right. I'm telling you. When I look at our president at HBCUs, make sure they can hire the best band director so that bands could look good during halftime of football game. It tells you everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that is a rich tradition.
It is an interesting concept to push football back to the spring. But now, what would that do to spring sports at HBCUs?
Nothing. They don't make any money. Listen, you hate to see that, but football is king. And we have to keep remembering, if the king don't play, the queen ain't got a chance.
Yeah, I like it. I like that.
So my thing is they'll go on and do what they do. But, you have to have your revenue-generated sports be able to play. It's the one product they have. And basketball will play. It won't affect basketball as much, But, it could be worked out. You could change the basketball schedule where you wouldn't play on Saturdays. You got me?
Right.
Toward the end of the season. I mean, it's workable. It's a workable situation,
Coach, how hopeful are you that with all of the COVID-19 and the inconveniences, the rescheduling, the reshuffling, the cancellations, everything that comes along with this, how hopeful are you that all of this is going to force us as a community to get back to basics as far as our appreciation of the academic side and supporting our HBCUs with our dollars?
Well, I hope it makes a lot of sense. I think more than anything also, Clarence, all the things that is happening in the country right now, and more than the country, the world, it really could be the one thing that says, enough is enough, we got to do a better job, and the separation stuff is not going to work.
Right.
You got me?
Right.
We all have to work. If we can build a strong community, then HBCUs will thrive. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
But we need to have a really strong community where the businesses support the kids in the community, where they can go to school and be productive. And then the citizens, once the kids go to college, they get a good job, they become three things. They become head of household, they become leaders in the community, and they become taxpayers. When you do those things, it can't do nothing but succeed. You got me?
Yeah, yeah. Where did we lose that, Coach? You know, if you think back to when you and I were growing up, let's use baseball as an example. Every business in the black community sponsored a baseball team. The churches, the mortuaries, the gas stations, the cafes, everybody sponsored a team. There was a real connection with the business community and what was going on in athletics, organized athletics in the black community. How did we find ourselves where we are now, having gotten away from that?
I really can't put my finger on the correct answer. I really can't, because it's pretty darn difficult to believe that we threw that model away. A model that was working, was extremely productive, and we found a way to break it and throw it away, Clarence.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's, to me, I'm so baffled by that, because it worked. And my thing is, and I'm not beating up churches, but people will give money to church to give to the preacher, but we won't put money back in the kids.
Yeah.
And they're the most vulnerable ones.
Yeah.
Which is what they used to do. You got me?
Yeah. Yeah.
They put it in programs that benefited young people. And the young people became productive citizens, like you and I.
Yeah. If HBCUs are going to be able to weather this post-COVID-19 storm and continue the mission of serving the communities where they are located, how important and how necessary is it going to be that we recultivate that relationship with business and the university?
Well, if I had any kind of thing association with the Southern University, for instance, if I was associated, what I would do, I would find a way to bring all of the businesses, lead all the business people to the campus, and we would talk about how we can benefit each other. Because there are benefits working together. You got me?
Right.
There are benefits. So we need to say, what is it you need Southern to do that can help your business be more recognizable, people support it? And here what you all can do for us to help us get people out there. I just think you have to bring people together and you have to discuss things. And you have to let them know what you could do. You put a program together and tell the businesses, this is what we're going to do. That would help get your name out there and let the public know, our supporters know, our students know, our employees know that we have a working relationship and that they are to support your business. I just think it's never been done. And if you don't do it, how do you know it's not going to work? You got it?
Good point. Good point. And
I would bring them up there because Southern has a beautiful campus.
Oh, yeah.
Bring them there. Bring them there and show them what you have.
Now, at the same time, we also need to do a better job, do we not, of connecting with the community that we serve, the individuals. Aside from the business aspect, we need to do a better job connecting with our customers, don't we?
Oh, yeah. Well, there is a thing. The small businesses are the ones. You get a whole bunch of small businesses, they become really big in the community. You got to do things. You just got to do things where you go. Also, that you go into the community that we serve.
Yes.
And you do things with the people you have. Your student athletes. And you don't only do it with the student athletes, you do it with the students also.
Yeah.
Because they have a value also. You got me?
Yep. And
there are more students than student athletes at Southern.
Correct.
They spend more money. And they can do more things than the athletes can.
Yep.
So I just think that you don't leave it just to the athletes. You bring all of the people involved and you go in that community. And you let them know you care about them.
Well, I think I got a new title for you. We're going to anoint you as Ambassador Emeritus. How about that?
Well, I think I could do the job because I love people, so it will be quite easy for me to do it. I don't know why I'm not doing it for Southern.
Roger
Allen told him not to let me do it.
Either that or Marty, maybe. I don't know.
Marty, one of them.
One of the two.
Don't do it. He loves people. Don't let him do it. He loves people.
Roger Cador, coaching legend. As always, great to talk with you, my friend. And do us all a favor and stay safe, Roger.
You too, Clarence. Make sure Allen and Marty not playing around too much.
Got you covered, my friend. All right. Final break of today's show. We get this out of the way. We'll come back after this break, put a big old bow on it, and wrap up the Monday edition of the Clarence Bugg Show right here on the Pelican. Stay close.
From appetizers, pasta dishes, and entrees, La Contea takes pride in preparing all the Italian cuisine we know you love. Enjoy live music every Thursday through Saturday from 6 to 9, happy hour weekdays from 3 to 6, and brunch on Sundays from 11 to 2, as well as dinner portion-sized lunch specials for under $10. Visit our website to view our menu and book a party or meeting in our large banquet room. Once you try La Contea, your Italian dining will change forever.
Live and play on the fairway at Greystone Golf and Country Club, a serene, challenging golf destination located in Denham Springs. For tee times and membership opportunities, go to GreystoneCountryClub.com.
Hello, guys. It's Debbie. It's time. I've got a brand new location. 10510 Airline Highway, Baton Rouge, next to After 5 Tuxedos. We have the perfect spot to get all your wedding and formal wear needs. Come see our one-of-a-kind name brand and get great prices. With 30 years experience, the best customer service anywhere. It's Debbie's Bridal, Airline Highway, Baton Rouge. See you soon.
That's right, the Clarence Bugg Show is back, along with the Exiles, Bill Profita and Kevin Gallagher. We've put the band back together, South Louisiana's talk team, and it's only on the Pelican. 10 a.m. till 12 noon, right here on the Pelican.
Hello. Hola. Ni hao.
Experience what the Baton Rouge International School can offer your children. Now welcoming displaced students for short and long-term stability.
Hi, I'm Bobby Yarborough with Manda Fine Meats. Here at Manda, we know what the folks of South Louisiana love. They love great flavored smoked sausage, delicious deli meats, and specialty items like boudin and andouille sausage. Manda Fine Meats has been providing these products since 1947. We produce them right here in Baton Rouge, so you know you're always getting the freshest product at your local grocery store. Manda Fine Meats. Taste the fresh local flavor in everything we make. Make it Manda every time.
For the final segment of today's edition of the Clarence Bugg Show, thank you, Marty. If you guys and girls only knew what happens during commercial breaks and whatnot. It's a whole different ball game. It's kind of like, you know, when you see a duck on the pond and he's swimming across the lake and it's nice and smooth going across. If you look beneath the water, you see those legs going like that? That's kind of how it is in television. Whole different ball game. Hopefully, you and yours that are monitoring the weather are keeping an eye on the situation out in the Gulf. It's going to be a while before we know exactly what, if any, impact there will be for South Louisiana by the weekend coming up or the beginning of next week. Tropical Storm Amanda formed in the morning, Sunday, May 31st, made landfall in Guatemala shortly after reaching tropical storm status. By Sunday afternoon, Amanda was classified as a remnant low. The remnants and an associated front of deep tropical moisture are forecast to drift into the extreme southern Gulf of Mexico around the Bay of Campeche and stay there for most of this week. Now, as you well know, as a resident of South Louisiana, anytime something gets into the Gulf of Mexico, God only knows what the darn thing might do. So word to the wise, start looking long term. Make those plans well ahead of time. If in fact it would develop into a tropical depression, it will be the third tropical depression. And if it in fact goes even further into a tropical storm, Cristobal will be the name that will be applied there. It is something that, you know, quite frankly, is the last thing we need to think about right now. But out of necessity, it is something that we have to entertain. And keep in mind, for those of you that were not with us when we started the show today, there's a new addendum that you need to take into account in making your hurricane preparations this year. And that, of course, is, you guessed it, COVID-19. There is the distinct possibility that many areas will not be able to offer the public shelter space that we've all become accustomed to. That obviously, because of social distancing, the necessary supplies of hand sanitizers, face masks, so on and so forth. So as you start keeping an eye on the weather toward the weekend and into early next week, keep these things in mind, because it is incumbent upon you as the individual, first and foremost, to take care of yourself and your loved ones. And in order to do that safely and efficiently these days, COVID-19 has to be a part of your plans. I know, Clarence, you're always dropping this stuff on me. I don't want to hear all this. Well, you need to hear it. And more important, you need to make preparations for it in the unlikely event that it ends up being something to really be concerned about. For those of you that are big social media people, and this is primarily for younger people, we baby boomers, we don't begin to approach the use of social media the way young people do these days. But that being said, as protests continue across this country, and just this morning, as a matter of fact, saw a story where the protest related to the death of George Floyd have now spread into parts of Europe, overseas. As you continue to watch these events unfold, and many of you will probably take part in protests of this sort in various communities around Louisiana. I know we had some in New Orleans already. We've had some here in Baton Rouge. I would like to issue a challenge to those of you that are big and frequent users of social media. Use that platform in as responsible a way as possible. It's amazing how social media can influence the actions of people. The number of people that have done things, and you've seen this with the viral challenges that have led to people doing things that have ended up in fatalities, ended up people being maimed and injured and having something that they're going to have to deal with for the rest of their life, only because they saw it on social media, saw that it had gone viral, and they decided to take part. I would like to challenge you to use that platform in as responsible a manner as possible. The good thing about social media is that you can sway people one way or the other. And quite frankly, aside from those individuals that have been trying to sow seeds of chaos at various protests, I've got to imagine they are the only individuals out there that feel good about the direction that many of these protests are taking. As an American, you are afforded the right to take part peacefully in protests. As an American, you also have the obligation to engage in protests peacefully. In many instances, individuals will only do what they think the individuals they are in the company of are comfortable with. If you are exhorting, encouraging individuals to resort to violence, you are a part of the problem. You are fermenting the seeds of chaos. Typically, when individuals take part in a protest and the others they are in the company of have made it clear that we are here for a peaceful protest, typically they will govern themselves accordingly. It's one thing for the powers that be, government officials, administrators, whomever, to crack down on protests. It is something else entirely when the people taking part insist that the protests are peaceful. It is a platform that can be used in a very positive light. The only question, I guess, at the end of the day is, are you going to choose to do so? Many people, many times, aren't all that comfortable in a leadership role. You don't have to be comfortable with it. But at the end of the day, the memory of George Floyd should not be about rioting, looting, a loss of property, and God forbid, a further loss of life. At the end of the day, you lose credibility and your message gets lost in the midst of all of this chaos. I would like to think that George Floyd would want to be remembered for something better than that. And I know for a fact his family does not want his memory dishonored. Govern yourselves accordingly. Guys, girls, it's a good rule of thumb, not only for protesting, but for living your life in general. That being said, my time's up and I gotta go. But once again, remember, America, we're not perfect, but doggone it, for my money, it's the best there is. And God knows there's no place else on his green earth that I'd rather be. Speaking of the good Lord, you do realize by now that he loves you, right? And I hope you know that I do too. Either way, there ain't a doggone thing you can do about either one. Take care of yourselves and each other. God bless.